Drivers, start your engines!
Yellow's out. Managed just about outran him. 50+ in her.
Hello, everyone. It is Monday, April 17th, and we are back in the studio. It's good to be here. Long week and weekend. I felt like it all just kind of dragged. It's very slow. I got a lot of work done, but yeah. Anyway, the green flag is out. We're ready to roll through. I with DJG. Dakota, how we doing?
Doing good. Yeah. Feeling great.
Anything new?
Nope. People ask me, they're like, how's your day going? I'm like, it's going. Oh, I never have anything exciting to report.
It's kind of the same. Like, your answer is just like, it's the same as yesterday.
It's the same thing, different day.
Repetitive motion. That's what I hate the most about life, is everything gets so repetitive because you have to work to make a living, and it's just, I'm all for having everything scheduled out. Like, that doesn't bother me, but just the fact that life is so repetitive, it gets very boring sometimes.
And that's all I do. I literally go to work, come home, do podcasts on Monday, and that's it. Go to bed.
Yeah.
Work, come home.
Life,
living, adulting.
Yeah.
How was your weekend?
Not bad. So Friday I was over here doing some stuff with the car. I got the oil change, got my seat moved, which may not matter because I might be getting that containment seat a little sooner than I thought. That's fine. I'd rather have it. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of excited about that. I got some more stuff ordered for the car today. Hopefully some positive news by the end of this week with my whole rear end situation. Fingers crossed that everything works out on that. What else? Saturday. It was a beautiful weekend. Well, Friday and Saturday was beautiful. So Saturday, my dad came over. We finished cleaning up my backyard because, my girlfriend Shalina and I, we rent this house, and the people that lived there before us never did any yard work. Actually, when Shalina went to go look at the house before we decided to rent it, they said that they weren't really outside people. Like, they didn't go outside hardly ever. Mm-hmm. So there were leaves in the yard that have been there for years. So Dad and I had most of it cleaned up. There was still a lot left to do. So Dad and I got that the rest of the way cleaned up. We ended up going to Rural King. I bought some grass seed and some straw. We got the grass seed laid down, watered it. And, yeah.
And we just wait, huh?
Pretty much. Keep it watered. As long as it's not raining. When it rains, that kind of does it for me, duh. And then yesterday it was freezing freaking cold, and it's cold again today. It snowed, flurried, whatever, sleeted.
It's currently 43 degrees outside.
Yeah, and it was like 80 Saturday. And then I think Wednesday or Thursday it's supposed to be 80 again. So I don't know what's going on right now. I feel like this happens every year.
Indiana weather.
It's hard to believe we're in race season. Like, people were racing Saturday and Sunday in the state of Indiana, and now it's 40 degrees colder and chances of snow.
Yeah.
But that's Indiana. Well, that's the Midwest for you.
Yeah.
But we are inching towards race season, and I'm hoping everything goes well. I know your dad's getting his transmission worked on. He got it sent off today. He said he should have it back by the end of the week, so that's good to hear. Hopefully all that goes well. He can get everything put back in the car and everything runs fine. And we'll hopefully be ready for race number 1, May 13th at the Lawn.
I'm excited.
I am too. I really want to be competitive this year. I was talking to Brandon Kindler because he said he's racing at Crown Vic this year. And I was only talking to him because he was giving me information about where he got his containment seats from. And excuse me. And he said he wanted to be competitive in the Crown Vic, and I was talking to him about all that. And we were talking about how fast some of these guys are and just trying to figure out, what to do to keep up. And he's like, I just want to be competitive. I know I can be competitive with the front wheel drive, so I just want that to translate over to the Crown Vic. I was like, right. I feel you. I was like, I don't think I'm going to win anything, maybe a heat race or something, but as far as winning a feature, I'm like, that's not going to happen this year. There's no way. I have no faith in that whatsoever. But I want to be competitive and not being lapped. Mm-hmm. If I get lapped, it's fine. But if I'm still racing with like the top 15 guys, that's fine. I'm just not hanging out in the back, getting passed. So obviously seat time will help that, and working on changing my driving line and adjusting.
Because this will be your second season, right? Or third?
Second. Technically. Yeah. I mean, I only ran 2 races last year, so and they were the 2 biggest races that they had.
Okay, yeah.
I did finish them both, so there's a positive there. But yeah, I want to be able to actually battle people for positions, and it's not, oh, I gained this position because you broke something, and I, you know. So we're working towards that. It's going to take some time, I'm aware. And I have a feeling I'm going to get very frustrated with myself a lot this season just because I expect a lot of myself. Yep. And it's just going to take time. And we'll get there. We will get there. And a lot of it's figuring out what I can do with the car, what the car's capable of, making some fine-tuning things here and there, and just getting the car where I want it so that I can drive it. Learn to drive it.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have those thoughts and feelings too when I'm behind the wheel, where I'm just like, I think I can do better, and I think I have more potential than what the car's allowing me to have. And granted, it's not all the car. There's a lot of stuff that I do wrong too, but yeah, I think this is going to be a good year for us.
I hope so. I also want to give a quick shout out to my uncle for helping me. He's done so much to help me. I mean, even last season, getting the car ready for 2 races, but he's just done so much to help me, and I'm glad that, I have support like that. And it definitely helps a lot, because me trying to figure all this out on my own, I'd never get it done.
Yeah. I do want to say he's awesome, and we love having him around.
It's fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we can go ahead and get into some...
Well, do you mind real quick?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So, we bought some Kyle Frame merch.
Oh, yes.
First of all, very great quality. I'll stand up and model it real quick. Hold on.
I have my T-shirt on. I didn't know that there were sweatshirts, or I would have bought a sweatshirt too. Yeah. So Dakota has a sweatshirt. Peep our logo, bottom left-hand corner. I have the T-shirt on underneath my sweatshirt right now. I think it's funny. We didn't even mean to do that, wear it on the same day, but I got mine today in the mail.
That's like you got a package. I said, I know. Very nice quality sweatshirts. Yeah. I'm sure the shirts are just as great. But I wanted to throw it on before we got out here. So shout out to Kyle Frame for including us in his merch. It's fire. Highly recommend you get some. We'll have, I'll put the links in the description where you can buy some merch, but it's nice.
Go buy some merch.
Yeah.
So
now we can get into it.
Okay. So to kick things off, we have USAC weekend. They went to Bloomington Speedway on Friday. CJ Leary, local guy, well, relatively local, Greenfield guy, swept the night. Jake Swanson, Logan Seavey, Justin Grant, and Emerson Axum rounded out the top 5. They then traveled to Hobstadt, which is in southern Indiana, where our good friend Chance lives. Justin Grant took the win. Kevin Thomas Jr., Kyle Cummins, Jaden Rogers, and Brady Bacon rounded out the top 5. And I will say Kyle Cummins is very difficult to beat at that track. I mean, insanely difficult to beat at Hobstadt. And Chance will die on that hill. Like, he could go on about it all day. Chance's friend Chase Stockin also races USAC. And Chase is good at Hobstadt. But Kyle Cummins is... I don't even know how to explain it. Like, you take someone like, I'll use Jeff Lane as an example at Mount Lawn, who's been literally doing it for so long that it's just like he could run that track in his sleep and beat anybody you put up against him, basically. That's Kyle at Hobstadt. It is insane. Let's see. Following Saturday's feature event, Justin Grant currently sits in the number 1 spot in the championship standings with 303 points. Larry sits second with 278, followed by Axum with 270, Bacon with 266, and Kyle Cummins with 250. The series' next event is scheduled for April 26th at Texarkana 67 Speedway. Now, I want to say, Chance, the first night, opening night of the USAC season, Chance texts, I don't know if he texted me or if he texted us in the group chat, and said Larry's going to be the champion this year, hands down. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, I would love to see. I mean, it seems like every year the standings are very tight. So
Yeah, and Larry's always good. Justin Grant's always good, of course. But I don't know. I think it's interesting. Larry's car looks, I don't know if he typically changes how it looks every year, but it is drastically different than it was last year. So it took me a while to get used to that because I was so used to seeing, like, he had green on his car last year, and I was, like, looking for it, and there's no green on his car this year. Chase Stockens' car is completely different. He had the Hudson John Deere car last year, and now Jason Pursley's driving it. And Chase's car, it looks phenomenal. I will say I love it. I don't know who the sponsor is on it, but it looks beautiful. So it's going to take some getting used to looking for new paint schemes. Kind of like whenever NASCAR runs the throwback schemes and they're like, who's who? Because I'm so used to like, oh, I know who sponsors who. And yeah, stuff changes.
yeah, good changes though.
Good changes.
It's kind of like our team. Dad changed his paint scheme up this year. I would have changed mine up.
I would, but I'm just like, I don't feel like messing with
It's
all that.
a lot.
Again. It's so much.
Yeah.
But I do think I actually have a paint gun now. So I might, if we decide to go, like if we decide to paint in the future, it'll be like, hey, we can set up like a makeshift paint booth.
Yeah.
Just hang some tarp or something, pull a car in, paint it, move it out, pull the next one in, paint it.
I definitely like the idea of like trying to like get paint schemes close together like we did last year. I think that's a great idea. I know Dad's doing red and black. I want to do white and red. Kind of copy off 100 Wrights, but with my own twist on it. I love his car. It's so like, I think a lot of people would say it's probably simple, but it's like his cars are sharp. I don't like, I mean, I do like some complex paint schemes, but like we're not getting ours wrapped or anything like that. We're like hand painting it. So
that's why I think the paint gun would be a good,
simple is easy.
better.
Yeah.
Because obviously you can only do so much with spray paint. And,
Yeah.
you know, some people go the whole 9 yards and get the full wrap. And I'm just like, it's not worth it to me because it's just going to get tore up.
Yeah.
I guess it makes more sense if you have good sponsors and can afford to replace it every week or have your own vinyl printing business to where it's just like, here we go.
And if you don't know, we have neither. So
Yeah.
we have a Cricut, but
Which I think, though, excuse me, says a lot about us to be able to go out on stuff that we fund ourselves. And we don't have, is the tattoo studio still with us or was that just the last season?
Last season, yeah.
Okay. So it's just us, I believe.
Yeah. Which sucks, but at the same time, I think it like, I don't know. I have this weird thought where I'm like, it's not weird, but like, I'm like, I think this season is going to be a turning point for us. I think I've said from the very beginning, we have a lot of potential with both the team and content. And I just think that like, yeah, it sucks that we're self-funded, but I really think we're going to see a turning point soon where I think opportunities will come to us and it'll be a little bit easier in the future.
I mean, yes.
And if it doesn't, then, oh, well.
I agree with you. But I will say on my part, I could do a little bit better of a job of reaching out to people.
Yeah, but we're all busy. I mean, it's just like, I mean, I really thought like, I mean, off season came and gone in a blink of an eye. I thought I would have more time during the off season to kind of reach out with potential partners and stuff like that. I just don't have the time in the day. So it's like, for me, I will say like, you know, I've been putting money back little by little. And we've talked about what that's going to bring us. So, yeah, it sucks not having money at times, but, I don't know. I think it's nicer.
I think it's humbling.
Yes. I think, you know, like a couple years ago when it was just like, I didn't have any money to do anything with the car and it was kind of like, whatever. I'm like, yeah, this sucks. But now I'm like, it's an experience. And I'd rather have an experience where we are working our tails off trying to get opportunities and things like that instead of just getting it handed to us. Mm-hmm. So
as much as getting it handed to us would be how nice that would be, I think it's just better in the long run to actually have to work for what you want.
Yeah. And then we won't be the ones being accused of being like daddy's money or anything because
it is daddy's money. It's my money.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Cringe.
I I guess we can move on to IndyCar at Long Beach. I'm going to butcher these names, so I apologize.
I'll try to help you.
Okay. The IndyCar series headed down to Long Beach for their third race of 2023. Drama started early as Callum
Illit. Illit.
I like that better. Crashed in the second practice session after the series added curbing that was not present in Friday's practice session in Turn 5. IndyCar failed to inform drivers and teams of the change to the track, leading to not only Callum wrecking, but also collecting Renus VK. Illit, who was frustrated, said, "I was doing the same line as yesterday. I don't understand what happened, but I took off when I hit the curb. And if they don't tell us, then they can pay for the damage because that's a joke." IndyCar believed that because the curbing was present for Thursday's track walk and present for prior races, the change to the track back to the original specs. Because of that, notifying drivers and teams was not necessary. Kyle Kirkwood would grab the win, followed by
Romain Grosjean.
Thank you. Marcus Ericsson, Colton Herta, and Alex Palou. The IndyCar Series will be back in action on April 30th, where they will head to Alabama for the Children's of Alabama Indy Grand Prix.
I would be so mad if I was one of the teams that wrecked because IndyCar didn't inform them. Now, I do kind of see where IndyCar's coming from in that, well, it's been there before, and it was there for the Thursday track walk.
Regardless, I would have been very upset, too. I think that's ridiculous.
How hard is it to inform the teams, hey, we're adding this, by the way?
Yeah. Because I mean, like, they're using up as much track as possible to try to get advantages. And so.
I mean, a driver has a line. They pick the line. They run the line because to them that is what's smooth, or that's what's fast. That's what's getting them the results that they want. And so you just throw a roadblock in the way and be like, "Yeah, we're not going to."
It's just not. It's really not hard to be like, "Hey, we did this." Just a heads up.
I mean, could you imagine? Now, don't get me wrong. Someone actually ignored the sign anyway and drove through. And when they were fixing the bridge on 38 here in Newcastle, could you imagine if there was no signage whatsoever? They just, all of a sudden the bridge is gone?
Yep.
Like I said, don't get me wrong. Someone did ignore it and tried to jump a bridge, and it didn't work out. But what I'm saying is like, that's the equivalent. You just run into road construction and there was no warning.
That's like, I don't know. I'm not even going to try to make a comparison. I think that's a great point.
I got another one. You know, have you seen videos of people zip-lining and then they're coming to the end and there's not a proper stop and it's just...
Yeah.
That's the same thing.
It's just, it's I think it's a bad look for IndyCar. For them to be like, it's not necessary because it's been there before. It's like, okay, well, there have been stop signs and a light post, stop lights at certain intersections that
but they tell people out. When they take them out.
So it's like you bring it back and people aren't paying attention because that's just they're focused on the road and not really. I mean, I don't know how you would miss a stop sign, but it happens. It's just it's really not hard to be like, by the way, we added this curbing, so
it's that simple.
Be aware. It really is. I mean, you're not going to sit there and tell me that they don't have meetings prior to practice sessions or anything like that. A simple, like, I'm sure there's group chats or something, like they can just mass text somebody, text the drivers and teams. I don't know. Whatever, teach their own.
Do you think that there's a possibility? So they said it was there during the Thursday track walk. Do you think there's teams that realized that and just didn't say anything in hopes that it would be a misfortune to someone else?
I didn't see anything on why the curbing was gone after Thursday and Friday. Or, I mean, it wasn't there Friday, but why it disappeared Thursday night.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, what's up with that?
I don't know. Someone done stole it. Picked it up and walked away. It grew legs and screwed off.
Yeah.
Make like a tree and leaf.
I guess.
I don't know. Shout out to Tony Stewart in just his fourth national event. Tony Stewart won in Vegas. This is NHRA, by the way, for those of you who don't know.
Yeah.
Qualifying fifth, Stewart was able to win all three of his quads, putting him in the final event. Stewart put up a 5.324 at 269.62 miles an hour, beating out Todd Bruce, former world champ Chris Demke, and McPhillips Racing teammate Mike Coughlin. Oh, this was 4 wide nationals, right?
Yes.
This is the craziest thing ever. It's literally 4 strips, and they run all 4 at the same time. It is the coolest thing ever. I would love to go, but I have a feeling the sound, like the pressure of a car taking off, would make my heart stop. Like, it is wild.
I stopped breathing in my sleep. Could you imagine, like...
Yeah, I do too. I realize. So I used to do it all the time where I'd have to, like, I'd be falling asleep and I'd be like, hey, breathe.
Yeah.
I have sleep apnea.
Yeah.
But
mine's self-diagnosed. I haven't, like, done a sleep study, but, like, I know.
Done it either, but I know I
for
do.
a fact.
But since I've been with Shalina, I haven't done it. And I know why. It's because she turns her fan on setting 9,000 and it blows up my nose all night and forces me to breathe.
It's basically like
it's a vent. It's a Bluetooth vent.
It's a CPAP without the hosing.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I would love to go to an NHRA event, but yeah, I don't know if I'd be able to, like...
You should. I want to go to, what is it? U.S. Nationals. It's at Lucas Oil. Mm-hmm. If I end up going this year, you should go with me.
Well, so I wanted to go to Cletus and Cars because he's coming back to Indy, and I know it's like a 2-day event, and one of those days they're going to be running the drag strip with, like, the NHRA guys. I would love to go to that, but I'd probably, like, the pressure. You're talking about making your heart stop. Probably, like, piss myself.
I mean, you can literally see it.
It's just crazy.
Slow-mos.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous. I would love to go, though. Once in a lifetime opportunity, I think. Where I'm like, yeah, I did it.
I think we should do it.
We should.
Next.
Congrats to Tony. Martinsville post race. The Truck Series kicked off the race weekend at Martinsville with the late start due to rain. Once the track was dry enough, NASCAR directed teams to put the new rain tires on the trucks, and they would then decide whether or not they would race. After several pace laps, NASCAR determined that the race could go forward, with drivers getting more than 25 laps on the rain tires. The competition caution flew on lap 28. NASCAR then threw the competition caution, directing teams to put slicks on. The caution flew with 85 laps remaining for an accident. However, rain began to fall, resulting in NASCAR calling the trucks down pit road. The race was declared official on lap 124 of 200, and Corey Heim was deemed the winner, his first of 2023. He was able to hold off Kyle Busch, Zane Smith, Ty Majeski, and Tanner Gray, who rounded out the top 5. Ben Rhodes, Matty D, Taylor Gray, William Solowich, who made his truck debut Friday night, and Chase Purdy completed the top 10. Carson Hocevar was penalized, who was penalized 2 laps for attempting to spin another driver, was scored 34th. The Truck Series will be back in action on May 6th at Kansas Speedway. Carson got a lot of backlash on social media, rightfully so.
I mean, I've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Where just the way he drives sometimes. I was happy that he got his first win. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever?
Last week.
But, I mean, we saw it at the Nashville Fairground. Was it Nashville? When you guys went. Because he wrecked himself and the leader.
Yes. In late models.
Yeah.
And then he did this stunt at Lucas Oil and put somebody in the wall. Can't remember who. There have been, I've seen several TikToks where, you know, it showed clips of him either wrecking himself to bring out the caution, like spin himself out, or attempting to spin somebody else. In this case, he attempted to spin somebody else and only spun himself out.
I will say, though, with this whole situation at Martinsville, I couldn't tell if the left rear tire was cut before.
I don't know. It looked,
because if it went down before, I could see the car wanting to go that way. But I mean, I think he helped it a little bit.
I think he helped it a lot. But that's just allegedly my opinion.
But I mean, the videos we've seen of him spinning himself out it's very, very obvious.
Yeah,
I will say. So he's got some acting lessons to take. And maybe some anger management classes.
It sucks because I really like Carson, but like this is just a bad look, and like he needs to get it fixed.
Yeah, because obviously he's a good driver. He has solid finishes and a win now.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, you can't win every race. So I understand, like, 1 week could be the best week of your life, and the next week could be the worst. It happens. Like, it's racing. You have to realize that.
Yeah.
And I know he knows that.
Yeah.
There's no way you end up in the Truck Series and have no idea that that's how that works.
Right.
I do want to say, though, I think if that race doesn't get called, Zane Smith comes out with a win.
Oh, I mean, it would have been... He's dominant. He won there last year. I do want to talk about, though, there was also some controversy with the rain tires. And I know, I shouldn't say I know, I think you had an opinion on it.
Yeah.
If you don't mind sharing.
So, that rain tires actually proved to perform very well, in my opinion. I think the issue was NASCAR said they weren't going to use the rain tires if it was raining. It was only for wet conditions. So if the track was still damp, they could throw the rain tires on and go. Now, I couldn't tell from TV just how hard it was raining at Martinsville, so this may totally invalidate my entire opinion, which is fine. I will gladly accept the fact that I'm wrong in this case. But I mean, even Kyle Busch, he got out of his truck and he's like, well, we didn't even give it a chance after they called the race. So, yeah, it was late. It was like midnight. But, I mean, I feel like they kept red flagging or bringing them down pit road because the track was getting too wet. I'm like, well, if you put the rain tires on and let them run, the trucks get hot. There's constant heat over a surface of the racetrack. The groove that they're running will dry out.
Yeah.
I mean, if you keep running race laps with the rain tires, you'll dry out the track. You'll stay ahead of the rain unless it obviously starts downpouring.
Yeah.
But I don't think it ever got to that point. At least it didn't look like it to me. And if it did, it did. Then I understand them calling the race. But I hate the rule that's like, oh, if we get halfway or past stage 2, we can call it and it's official. I'm like, you just robbed me of half a race.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I was so excited to sit down Friday night and watch the race after working on the car. And I get home and it's like, oh, we still have 80 laps left, but we're going to call it. I'm like, bro.
Yeah.
That's the best part of the race is the end.
Well, I know they were debating on just pushing it off until like 9 a.m. the next morning.
I wish they would have.
I also know, full transparency, I fell asleep after stage 1. It was late. I had stayed up long enough waiting for this race to get in, and I was just tired. A lot of people on Twitter were not happy with NASCAR. They were, they thought that NASCAR and the broadcast was overselling these tires.
That's my thing. I'm like, if you're going to label them as rain tires,
yeah,
run them when it's raining.
Yeah.
If you're going to run them when the track's damp, call them damp tires.
Yeah. I was under the impression that that these tires would be used like light rain, similar to like how they would run at road courses. Right,
well,
where
except
it could
for
be
Coda last year. Was it last year or the year before?
Where it was a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like in those similar situations where it could be raining, but you're still running them, it didn't seem like they wanted to run them in the rain. I mean, they didn't run the rain tires in the first stage. It wasn't raining. The track was still wet, but they had it dried up for the most part.
Yeah, and I think a lot of drivers had good feedback on the rain tires.
Yeah. I thought they did well.
Yeah.
But like you said, Kyle Busch was not happy about it. He didn't feel like NASCAR gave the tires a chance to perform in the conditions that I would have thought they would have ran them in. But
yeah, that's my biggest thing. And maybe this is petty or stupid, but I'm like, if you're going to call them rain tires, run them when it's raining.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not made to run when it's raining, don't call them rain tires.
But aren't they the same tires they would run at Coda in the rain?
I don't know if they're exactly the same.
But I mean, they're probably also in the same field.
You're going to run these cars with these huge-ass windshield wipers on them that, one, don't do anything when you're going fast enough because you can literally see on camera they're just on the windshield.
Yeah.
They don't even make contact.
Yeah.
But the windshield wipers are there if the windshield gets wet. Well, guess what? It starts raining. Oh, we're going to pull you off the track. What's the point?
Well, I know the broadcast was talking about when, I think it was, don't quote me on this, I think they said Kyle Busch tested, or there was a driver that tested at Martinsville in the past with rain tires. And it wasn't raining, but they pretty much
They soaked the track.
soaked the track to kind of get an idea of how the tires would do and all that stuff. And the broadcast even said, they had, 15, 20 laps on these tires before the tread started going away, but it didn't affect the handling of these cars. So it's like, I would love to see them get the chance to run in those types of conditions on a short track like that and see what, obviously there were some drivers who on the flip side was like Ty Majeski prior to the race starting said, I just hope that we don't go out there and make fools of ourselves, because
Now, I understand 100% that there are certain tracks that's just not a possibility. Super speedways, Bristol.
yeah,
You can't put you can't run on a wet track.
But I think Martinsville would probably be the best
Martinsville,
option.
North Wilkesboro, probably New Hampshire. That might be a little too big.
Yeah.
But I think North Wilkesboro is one of the tracks on the list that they will run wet tires. And then, obviously, the road courses.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm kind of excited for the Chicago street course, but I know that when it gets here, it's going to be boring. Because I have a feeling the track's going to be very narrow in spots. You want to talk about not being able to pass while you literally can't fit 2 cars through some of these sections.
I was watching that NASCAR did something with iRacing where they kind of like debuted the track and what it would look like.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
And it was just like, it looks rough. Like, it looks like it's going to be a very challenging course.
And I think these guys will figure it out. That's not what I'm saying, but...
No, but it's going to be tough.
Everybody's already complaining about the product that the racing has been providing thus far this season. I mean, every race, ratings are down. Every race. This package sucks. Can't pass. Can't do nothing. They need more horsepower. They need to make the car hard to drive. Give it, show the fans who can actually drive and who can't.
Yeah.
I'm like, no one's ever going to be happy.
No.
You want safe race cars. You want, they look good, I think. Mm-hmm. You want safety. You want appealing looks. You want, obviously, and they can't just go back to the old body. I mean, I guess they probably could, per se, but they keep up with the current manufacturing. So Ford, when Ford changes the design, the new Cup car changes the design. Like, it just keeps it. That's the whole point of a stock car.
Yeah.
There's just no, there's too much brake.
Yeah. I do want to, you brought up ratings, and so I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but we were talking about ratings. I said something about every race or almost every race was like down like 30-40%. That's incorrect. There was only one race. I screenshotted it too. Insert here. There was one race that was down like 40-something%, and then the rest have been like 15, around the 15% mark, but still.
That's a pretty large
ratings
percentage.
Are down. But like, that's a high percentage, but then it's like it's down like 1 million viewers, and it's just like, it's rough. But I agree with you. A lot of people are asking for a lot of things. There's a lot of wants, and it's just not it's just not possible to get everything that you might want. But I won't talk about it now, but I do want to talk about Denny Hamlin made comments on his podcast about the racing from Martinsville. He was probably the loudest driver to say something about it following the race on Sunday. I do want to get into that, but
yeah, because I have counter arguments if it's what I think he said.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, we still have Xfinity to cover.
Yeah. Over in the Xfinity Series, John Hunter Nemechek led 198 of 250 laps Saturday night, grabbing the win, the Martinsville Grandfather Clock, and winning the $100,000 Dash for Cash prize. Sammy Smith, Cole Custer, Josh Berry, and Brandon Jones rounded out the top 5. The Xfinity Series will be back in action on April 22nd at Talladega Superspeedway. John Hunter Nemechek literally burned it down. Second week in a row where we've seen a car on fire, or in the last couple weeks, I should say. Zane Smith burnt his truck down at Coda, and while celebrating at Martinsville, John Hunter Nemechek's car essentially blew up. It looked like
it was pretty
engulfed
gnarly.
In flames. But it was gnarly, but it was pretty cool looking. Glad that all in all, everything's good. I mean, I saw someone tweet, they were like, it's unfortunate because prior to this, the car was race ready. Now it's like has thousands of dollars of damages. I'm like,
you want to know something? According to half the people on Facebook Marketplace, that bitch is still race ready.
Yep. By Facebook definitions, it's ready for Talladega.
It just needs new tires, a new body, a new motor, a new trans, and
probably
maybe a new roll cage.
Probably needs,
but it's race ready.
Yeah. But yeah. And then finally in the Cup Series, Kyle Larson, who passed Joe Logano with 30 laps remaining, clocked out from the rest of the field. His win at Martinsville came down to pit road strategy after pitting in P5 and choosing to take 2 tires instead of 4. Logano, who finished second, said that he was happy with where he finished, believing he would have finished further back in the field. Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin, and Chase Briscoe rounded out the top 5 on Sunday. Chase Elliott, who made his return to racing, finished 10th. The Cup Series will join the Xfinity Series at Talladega on April 23rd.
Okay, so I saw a tweet today. that said, TV went out and made all this effort to talk about Chase Elliott's return for him to finish 10th. I'm like, that's good.
Yeah. Well, I saw that too, and I wanted to make a point of that. I completely think that was an L take. Don't agree at all.
What is it?
Eddie said,
No, not that one.
"Shut up, bitch."
That one.
L take. I think Chase did an amazing job. He said that the leg didn't bother him that much. I don't know how necessarily true that is. I feel like it would have. I mean, I don't know. He said,
which leg is it? Is it his right?
I think it's his right leg, if I remember correctly. He said that it was hot in the car. He's like, I've been sitting on the couch for 6 weeks, so I wasn't ready for it. He told reporters at the end of the race that his leg was a little stiff, but all in all was, didn't bother him too much, which I hope is true. But, I don't know. I think that it would have been a lot more complicated for me.
At least it wasn't his breaking leg.
Yeah. Right.
No pun intended.
Right. But I mean, coming back 6 weeks out, which didn't feel like 6 weeks at all.
That flew by.
Yeah. But to come back, after suffering that injury and finishing top 10, I don't think it was overhyped at all.
I think that's a win.
And it's also like, he is your, what is it called? Popular driver of the year, whatever you call it. I swear I've been forgetful today. Anyway, most popular driver in the last several years. And it's like, of course they're going to hype it up. He's literally the most popular driver. So, anyway, did very well. I thought he would have finished worse, honestly.
I did too.
But.
And I wouldn't have complained about it. Like,
no.
Dude broke his leg. Has been out for 6 weeks.
I'm not going to even try to make a comparison because it'd probably be awful. But, I mean, imagine being, like, hurt pretty bad.
How many pro, like, football players or basketball players can go get hurt like that and come back with just sit on a couch for 6 weeks and come back and perform almost as good as they were before the injury?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen.
I'll wait. No, but I agree. Did anything outside of these two bullet points did I want to talk about? Was there anything important that I missed?
I don't think so. That no one rode the wall.
Nope. That's been banned. Kyle Larson, this was a great win for him. I mean,
he literally said in his interview, he's like, I never thought I would win here, so I don't have a space picked out for the clock. I got to go make room.
Yeah, I know he made comments, saying like he dreaded going to Martinsville because of how bad he sucked there in past years. So
it doesn't fit his driving style.
Right, exactly what he said. And so, huge shout out to Kyle Larson for being able to pull that off
and his crew.
Again, and this has been the type of situation. Huge shout out to his pit crew because they're the guys that have made it, have put him in positions in past.
They won him the championship.
Yes.
They were the reason why he won his first race this year and his second race this year.
Yep.
They continuously show up. They have their screw ups, but most of the time when he needs it, they're there.
Yeah.
And his entire crew is on it. The strategy calls are on point. It's a work of art, to be completely honest.
And it's awesome to watch. So I will say, Chase Briscoe.
How did Cody Ware finish this week?
In jail. He got arrested again.
Wait, again?
That's what I heard. He got arrested again. And as far as I know, he's back in jail waiting court date.
Can we?
But that's all I know.
Insert mugshot here.
Somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. I have no comment to make.
No, that was just a...
Yeah. As far as I know, he's back in jail. Yikes. Yeah. Anywho, Chase Briscoe, who broke his hand
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure when he broke it. I know he broke it. He underwent surgery today.
It was either the weekend of the Bristol Dirt Race or the weekend before.
I think it was the weekend before.
Because then he raced Bristol Dirt, and then he said he wanted to get through Martinsville before he got it looked at.
Yeah, so he had surgery today. Reportedly went well. I know he got pins and screws put in one of his fingers because it was or his hand. I don't know. He had a broken hand.
It was, I want to say it was
Yeah, I thought so.
middle or, it's not a ring finger because it's not on your left hand.
Yeah, but he got it repaired.
Alternate middle finger.
So he's up on the up. Anyway, now I want to discuss this because this will probably be a big topic. So Denny Hamlin, following the race on Sunday, had a lot to say about the racing at Martinsville. He then goes on his podcast and talks about how, NASCAR took away all this horsepower to try to save teams money on the engine bill. And he says, the engine bill has not been cut at all. It's still the same. And then went on to say something about letting NASCAR let the drivers race one race with high horsepower. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, he'll shut up. Now, you said you had some potentially.
So, right after the race, he's like, we can't pass, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. You know what I have to say to that? There's a couple things I have to say to that. One, the winner of the race started 19th. Now, yes, he had a really good last pit stop, which gained him a lot of position, but he had worked his way up to the top 10 before that. Mm-hmm. Joey Logano started dead last, finished second. Yeah, pit stops had something to do with it, but he still passed people. Chase Elliott passed 10 people in the last 20 laps. I saw the pass for the lead. Mm-hmm. That wasn't on a pit stop. That was a clean pass for the lead. There was passing. I don't know what he's talking. He just couldn't pass people.
Yeah.
There was plenty, and a lot of people, because Ryan Preece got on the pole, and then during the first stage, he took off and left everybody. They're like, oh, well, Ryan Preece had the best car, and he got his speeding penalty in the pits and got sent to the back, and he got stuck there. Well, first off, it's Ryan Preece. No offense, probably a great guy, but how often is he up front? Hardly ever. Mm-hmm. So you get sent to the back, you're not, you might have a fast car, but you're not used to passing people.
Right.
That sounds really bad, but...
Well, I would say I definitely agree. I think Martinsville is a bad example of, saying that there's no passing because, like you said, how often are we passing in Martinsville?
Martinsville is a very technical track. You get down and you hug the bottom.
Yeah.
So, literally, the only way to pass somebody is if you get a really good run off the corner and can set it up on the straightaway, if you're lucky. Mm-hmm. And then when that stops working, you give them the bumper.
Yeah.
That's Martinsville. It's always been Martinsville.
Yeah.
And there was plenty of that.
Yeah.
I saw it executed very well several times. Both options there. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know. I just don't understand. But my answer to Denny talking about is that's just short track racing. That's just short track racing.
Right. So let me ask this, though, because I know, on Twitter, the NASCAR fans that want to say whatever they want to say. I think there is a bigger discussion about horsepower in NASCAR.
100%.
And I don't have an opinion on it, T-Strone. What are your thoughts on that? Because I think this conversation maybe open up a door to that where, NASCAR has reduced the horsepower in these cars. As far as him saying, let us have one race where we're running high horsepower. What's your thoughts on that?
Okay. Before I answer that question, I have one more point I want to make about the whole Ryan Preece situation.
Okay.
It's a lot easier to have a really good car when you're running up front and have really clean air and nobody else does. Mm-hmm. So I just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
You can set a car up to run in clean air or you set it up to run in dirty air. Well, when you start on the pole, you're probably going to set it up to run in clean air. So when you get put back in dirty air, the car is going to run like crap. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so to answer your question, I would like to point out the not old, I don't know, 2000s Cup cars. Mm-hmm. The greatest sound to ever exist, in my opinion. The super high-pitched screaming. I love that. The high horsepower, low downforce, whatever. I'm all for that. But I'm not going to sit here and say racing sucks because they don't have that anymore. I still think the racing is good. Is it what it could be? No. But I also want to make another point. They have the low horsepower, high downforce package on these cars, and look where we were last year. People getting hurt when they wrecked. So if you increase the horsepower, decrease downforce, put it in the driver's hands and there are more wrecks and more people get hurt, what are you going to complain about then?
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
That's just my outlook on it. Like, I understand, like, the car's new. I understand there's still unknown things about how this car reacts to certain situations. But I think I would love to have the high horsepower, low downforce. Like I said, I'm all for it. But realistically, is it the safest thing to do? Is it the smartest thing to do? Money-wise, like Denny said, it's not helping the engine budget, but like, what are the numbers?
I would like to know like how much different the racing would be if it was that kind of setup where we have more horsepower. I think I can't. I mean, no. Like I'm gonna sound stupid, but like I can't imagine the racing being that much different with these cars.
I don't think that Atlanta would be a super speedway anymore. I think that might take a little bit out of that. Mm-hmm. Just because a car will step out on you if you're too fast, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's certain tracks that would just, I think it essentially would just, it'd be more throttle control and not just wide open, let off, wide open. So I think it does put a little more in the driver's hands. And maybe that's not something that we would notice. Now, I think there would be a lot more spins, self-spins, this, that, and the other, just because, but I don't know.
Yeah. I was just curious because I know there's been a lot of talk on Twitter about, you know, the days of 900 horsepower or whatever it was. And it's just like, I think these cars have a lot of work that need done. I mean, we just saw recently the beginning of the year where we finally made the changes to the back end of these cars to make impact softer for the drivers. But I think overall the racing has been pretty well.
Here's my solution to this problem.
Mm-hmm.
Pick a track that you go to twice in a season. One race, you run the low horsepower, high downforce. Next race, that race only, so you have a control, same track, just different horsepower, downforce. Whichever one has the better outcome, you roll with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know there like Bob tweeted about it today. So maybe next episode, I want to, because I didn't want to talk about it too much, but I wonder what kind of points they were making. So we might talk about it next week, what like maybe like the professionals are talking about on that and see kind of where we stand with their opinions, because I don't know if they would agree with us or not. But again, regardless, it is an interesting conversation to have, especially with, you know, Denny Hamlin now talking about, you know, the cost of the engine bill not changing, and he thinks that team should have the opportunity to have one race to run high horsepower, and if it works, then they should implement it all year, and if not, then he'll shut up.
I want to know how the engine bills are not changing. Because, okay, if he's comparing a high horsepower previous versus a low horsepower current, okay, I could see that. Technology, electronics, this, that, and the other is going to make this more expensive. Mm-hmm. But if you go to the high horsepower with all the electronics and technology, what are those numbers compared to, you know, I want to see, not that I can interpret the numbers, but I would like to see something that represents, okay, well, if we go to this, it doesn't affect budget here or whatever.
Well, I think it would be because I don't recall seeing teams say like, but you know, NASCAR, their whole like stick with this car was that it would be cheaper for teams to manufacture and build. I'd love to know like what the numbers are looking like. Are they really saving money? I mean, if they're not saving money in the engine department, then
because in any sort of racing that I know of, if you want more horsepower, that means you spend more money.
Right. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wonder where they're saving where is the savings at? Because if it ain't the engine department, I can't imagine where it's at.
Right.
So yeah, that would be interesting to know. I agree. Yeah.
We'll probably never know.
I'll DM Denny after the show and ask him.
Do it. We'll get Denny on the an episode of 3 Wide with DJG.
Yeah.
Hot. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
We'll move on. Is there anything else you want to add on the NASCAR side?
Not that I can think of.
Not that I can think of either.
Excited to watch the racing at Talladega.
Me too.
Fingers crossed everything stays safe, obviously. That track in Daytona every race weekend they go there. It gives me anxiety. But
I love watching the races there, but then it gets down to like the last 20 laps, and I'm
you're
like,
it's gonna
I'm
happen.
just waiting for something bad to happen.
Yeah. I think after, not to bring it up, but Ryan Newman's wreck, it's just like,
Ever since then, I've been so on edge.
yeah. I mean, Austin Dillon's wreck, was big then, and it's just like, it's possible that something bad could happen. I mean, hell, Myatt Snyder
Yeah.
more recently got up in the catch fence. It's just like, that stuff is scary, and it always tends to happen in the closing laps. So it's like, yeah, I agree. I'm like, ooh, gosh, my heart rate goes up.
Clenching my teeth, and I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on to the CRA and the Vorse Compact Touring Series at Anderson Speedway. The CRA and Vorse Compact Touring Series made their way to Anderson Speedway over the weekend, where Caleb Rescher grabbed the win in the late model sportsman feature. Caston Everidge, Charlie Keevan, Jeff Markham, and Jason Timmerman rounded out the top 5. I believe that was a first-time winner. I believe so.
Yeah.
Dalton Connor, James Kirby, Jason Atkinson, Andrew Teepee, and Calvin Parham rounded out the top 5 in the CRA Street Stock feature. I believe Dalton Connor was also a first-time winner.
His mom is hilarious. We talked to her.
Oh, was that the okay?
So this isn't funny. Jackson
Machenko?
yes. Huge fan, by the way.
I think that's his name. Sorry if I butchered it.
He's a cool kid. But he flipped at Anderson very dramatically. And we didn't know who this lady was. Happened to be Dalton Connor's mom. And my mom's like freaking out, obviously. And then we're talking. And she's like, yeah, my son races in the street stocks. And we were like, who is he? And she told us. And I was like, oh, we sat there and chatted for a good 5-10 minutes. He's awesome. Watched Dalton race at Anderson after that same night. And then we watched him at Winchester last season.
I love how his car looks. I think it's a
beautiful.
very good-looking street
It
stock.
is. It's beautiful.
Let's see. Alex Booby scored his second Vorse Compact Touring Series B4 Mini Series win. That was in Kyle's
Old car.
old car, yes. Derek Simon, Nicholas Mead, Joe Jennings, and Cody Griffith scored top 5 finishes. Shaylin Calciano scored a top 10 finish with his 7th place finish. This is in the B4?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so congratulations to Shaylin. I'd say, is he getting things figured out with his car? Hopefully, fingers crossed.
I think so. And he put that Mustang nose on this year, and
I love it.
God, I want one so bad.
What's Travis doing? Is he new car? Or is...
I don't know. I will say he's racing this year. That's all I know.
Okay, because I feel like I saw a picture
On
of a
the
new
record.
car.
Yeah, on the record, that's all I know.
But
I don't know how much people know, and I don't want to be the one to.
that's fine.
But
That's
yes,
fine.
he's racing this
He is
year.
racing, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Chris Jennings scored his win in the Vorse Compact Touring Series main feature, followed by Trent Gosser, Bo Holscher, Tom Gosser, and Justin Brown. Kyle Frame brought home his number 39 in 6th. Tough break this weekend for Bradley Winters.
Yeah.
This man cannot catch a break, and I feel so bad. And I also want to say that I'm glad that he is okay based off of what I saw on comments that he had made, that he went straight into the wall because of a parts failure.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what that's like, especially knowing what's happened at Anderson before.
Yeah.
So I imagine that's a scary situation, but I think that just goes to show that his car's safe. It's very well put together. He knows what he's doing. So hopefully his luck turns around. Hopefully Kyle's luck continues to improve. I want to see him get a couple wins this year. I want to see Bradley do well this year as well. I'm in love with the color of Bradley's car.
Mm-hmm. I think it looks good.
Actually, his brother just won a figure 8 feature at Sportsdrome, maybe?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I think he runs with the Gamblers guys.
Okay,
And-
makes sense.
Bradley shared a video. I think it was an in-car camera, so I was watching it, and I was just like trying to... I couldn't run a figure 8. I won't do it. I will never do it.
I couldn't be me.
Shout out to those of you that are brave enough to do it, but I won't do it. But yeah, that's it for Anderson. I wish I would have watched. I had all intentions to, but between that, I was watching USAC because Chance, his sister's boyfriend, Aiden Schmidt, was running with USAC. I also want to know that they ended up canceling the remainder of the events after the USAC feature because bad weather was rolling in.
I saw that they were getting a lot of...
And I don't know if you saw... Sorry, I'm getting off on a little bit of a tangent here, but Kenny Wallace posted a video. He was literally in the chute getting ready to go out for their heat race or something, and they were like, load up, go home. Tornado sirens are going off.
Oh, no. I saw there were a couple, like, teams that, like, got hit by, like, either, I don't know if it's a tornado or really strong winds, but, like, I saw several haulers that were, like, flipped off of the interstates, which is scary. Thankfully, as far as I know, everybody was safe, but I couldn't imagine. That's scary.
No, you're literally getting ready to go out on the track, and they're like, go home. Tornadoes.
Yeah.
You're like, what?
So, tangent. So, I used to have a job. I won't say what, but I was at a fairground. I don't remember where. And we were getting bad weather. Well, some places in Indiana, and I'm sure elsewhere, will set their tornado sirens off for severe weather. It doesn't even have to be a tornado warning, right? Like here, thankfully, the tornado siren only goes off if there's a tornado warning. So we're all hauling ass to like the bathrooms because it's like a brick building. My ass slips and slides in the mud. I'm like falling on the ground, like running for my life. I finally get to the bathroom. I'm soaking wet, covered in mud from head to toe. So like I could only imagine like the fear going through people's heads when they're like, you got to get your stuff backed up.
Imagine it's like you got to get out of the car, you got to load it in the trailer, get it strapped down, make sure everything, you got all your stuff, close the door, get in the truck and go. And then you also have to fight everybody else who's trying to do the exact same thing.
Well, so we were at Mount Lawn last season.
Somebody lost a rig.
Literally, several people lost rigs. But we were at Mount Lawn last season, and there was a tornado warning for...
Was it Rush?
No, it was... where the hell was it? I don't know. It was somewhere a little bit up north, but it was heading our way. And... the track told everybody, like, you need to evacuate, you need to go home, get in your cars, go. They were setting off damn fireworks in, like, 60-mile-an-hour winds, so, like, all this shit's falling on our cars. We're trying to get our tents put down, because we were standing there for a second, we were like, what do we do? Do we, like, wait it out here and hope that it misses us, or do we try to, because we still had both cars there, and that was stressful, so I can only imagine. I'm glad that everybody is safe, though.
To our knowledge.
To our knowledge, yeah. Everybody... who lost their rigs are safe and sound, thankfully, to my knowledge. Also, speaking of USAC, wasn't going to talk about it, but last week we talked about Justin Owen. Found out his dad went on to a news station and talked about, Justin was an organ donor, and because of that, he was able to save 80 people's lives, which it's a lot. And I just want to, like, say that's awesome. I mean... granted, the situation is not awesome. It's horrific, but, to be able to give back as, like, your last act on earth, I think is just amazing. So,
also want to give a quick update. What's his name? Newman?
Jake. Yeah.
He's okay.
Yeah.
He's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So that's always good to hear. I know Chance was texting me, and I don't know if he would appreciate me saying this or not, but... we were talking about all this, and he's like, it makes me want to tell Aiden, don't race at Hopstot. Just because all this, he texted me, he's like, what is going on in the motorsports world? You had Justin died, Newman wrecked.
The next weekend.
This was all within a week.
Yeah.
There was a rallycross driver that died. There was a Porsche that ended up flipping into the stands somewhere. Luckily, no one was in the stands.
I saw that. That was scary.
Yeah. But he was like, what is happening? He's like, this makes me want to tell Aiden, like, not to get in the car. And he was like, especially from my standpoint, because, like, I've helped build the car, so if something happens, like, I feel responsible. And so that's tough.
I definitely saw people were raising that question in the dirt community. Because, like I said, Justin passed away Saturday, and then Jake got into an accident, I think, a week to the day. And it was... a lot of unknowns then too. He had a very hard crash. Rumor had it that they had to call Lifeline for him, which they waved off too. Thankfully, he's going to make a recovery. I don't think they got into specifics of what his injuries were. But I know he was discharged from the hospital. He was able to go home, and he's probably itching to get back in the car. But that's why I raised a question last week. It was like, I don't know how these drivers I mean, granted, like it's kind of like NASCAR when Earnhardt passed away. The sport was kind of in a rough spot where it's like, do we move forward or do we wait? We can't really wait. And they, got back to it.
But I will say,
for me, I think it'd be scary to think like, okay, well, we just had 2 horrific crashes that took somebody's life. And it's like, I'm strapping into this car hoping that I'm not, somebody that's going to be next. It's just like, that would be a lot of mind games to get through, I think.
But I also want to say, like, I think this goes for, probably football players as well. But I think of this specifically with motorsports. Mm-hmm. Drivers are weird. They thrive. They desire to strap into this machine that potentially, I don't want to say tries to kill them, but has the capability of killing them.
Yeah.
Anytime they're in it, and they're just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And then they get hurt, and they're like, I can't wait to get back in the car. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like Ashton, right? Like,
yeah.
Very scary freak accident. I don't know if I would want to get back in the car for a while. I mean, he was like ready to get back in it. I'm like, did you watch the tape? Like, how do you get up and say, okay, let's do it again?
Yeah.
I mean, I would.
Round 2.
I mean, I would probably be I would want to get back in the car. I mean, when I wrecked my car at Mount Lawn, which is nothing compared to this, I was like, damn, I'm mad because I can't race. But like, I don't know. Like I said, I think it'd be a lot of mind games to try to get through to be like, okay, I'm ready to get back. I don't know. But I mean, yeah, I agree with Chance. I mean, it is scary to think about,
Mm-hmm.
Shit happens and we've seen it. But
what are you going to do?
Yeah. The last topic that I had was that Hunter Wright wins at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. He grabbed the win in the Pro Late Model feature Saturday night at Nashville Fairgrounds. Jackson Boone, Dylan Fetcho, Connor Zilzik, and Corey Dowser, right out top. Sure, right out the top 5. I will never not be good at names. Okay, so huge shout out to Hunter Wright. Really wish he got that win as a Alan Quickie development driver finalist, but hey. No, but seriously, I do want to say congrats to the 7 finalists, though, because I don't think we said that last week, and
we didn't.
I was listening to it back, and I was like, "Damn, we sound like assholes." But
we
seriously,
are though. But
well, I do want to say sincerely, congrats to the 7 finalists, and huge congrats to Hunter Wright for grabbing this win.
All right, last thing. Mainly, we kind of covered a lot of it already, but
yeah,
our season is about to start.
T-minus, I think this is 3 weeks now.
Gosh. So, I guess, what's the season going to look like for you? A little different than normal.
Yeah. So if you follow our social media, you might have seen that I announced that I wasn't going to race this season, and the thought process behind it was that I was going to focus on more of a business side of things. Try to get us partners, try to find funding, so on and so forth. I think that I might rescind that statement, and so now the answer to your question about whether I'm going to race is up in the air. I know for sure I'm not going to make the first race.
So the reason why Dakota's not going to make the first race is because currently his chassis is sitting on jack stands, and every single body panel that can come off the car is off the car.
Yeah. So definitely will not make the first race, which is fine. It'll give me the opportunity to go out there and kind of see what the competition looks like. I've been saving money pretty well. So if I decide to put money into it to make some improvements, I will. But I definitely think the answer went from I'm not racing this season to the you might see me out there at some point or another. Still focused on trying to find his partners, still focused on trying to find his funding. There's a lot of things that I've been trying to work through my head about the content side of things because I love doing this, and there's some ideas that I have. Last year we did our countdown series to Winchester, hoping we can do that some more this year as we get further into the race season. But yeah, so anyway, I might rescind that statement and say you will probably see me out there a few times this year, later in the season.
I just want to know if any of you have an opinion. I want Dakota to make some laps in a Crown Vic, and if any of you agree, please say so. I think we should try to get him in the seat. Just for like an open practice. It's just him on the track.
I will say, I will absolutely do it because I like a challenge. And I think it would be fun. It's going to be different. I mean, if you've seen, there's a picture on our Facebook. It's also on our Instagram. Or maybe it's on mine, on my personal. Anyway, my car looks like a Hot Wheel next to your guys' cars. Like the size is just drastically different.
We're driving a boat versus a jet ski.
Yeah, literally. So, I mean, it would be challenging. I would do it. Absolutely.
I don't think the size of the car is what's going to pose an issue for you. It's the front wheel drive versus the rear wheel drive.
And, no name dropping here, no shame. But somebody learned that lesson hard last season where they thought they could just jump into a Crown Vic and it'd be the same thing, and they put it in the wall and destroyed it. I don't think I would do that, but I would hate to say that and then be the same exact way. So, but I do like the challenge, and I would absolutely do it in an open practice. I wouldn't just jump in it and run two of the biggest races of the season.
I will say I think you could do it. Now, some of you might disagree with me here, but I've ran 150 race laps, and I haven't spun it out yet. Now, some of you are like, well, you're not running it hard enough. And maybe not, but I've definitely felt the rear end kick out on me quite a few times. If
you're still listening to this podcast, thank you. But if you're doubting, if you disagree, you better not be disagreeing. I really think that I'm very well capable of doing it. It's just, a lot of things go into play. One, I don't want to make the same mistake that somebody else did, because that'd be a hard lesson to learn. I just don't want to tear up a car right before race season either. That's part of it. I used to say I don't want to race Crown Vics. I don't know if I would, racing 40 other Crown Vics, but I think the experience would be good.
Yeah. I think the biggest challenge for you, like I said, rear wheel drive versus front wheel drive, the main thing is if you start to lose it in a front wheel drive, you just give it gas and it straightens itself out. And it's the exact opposite in a rear wheel drive. And I think your brain's programmed at this point to where, I'm starting to spin out, give it gas.
I wonder how big, I don't think it would be, but I wonder how big of a difference it would be to go from stick shift and like shifting to not having to worry about that aspect and just focus on.
I will tell you right now, from someone who daily drives a stick shift, I go to get in Shalina's car to move it all the time, and hers is not a stick shift, and I go to push the clutch in to start it all the time, and I'm like, there's not a clutch there. There's the other day I was coming down the hill from our house to the stop sign, and I was going to stop, and I had my foot on the brake, and I went to push in the clutch to put it in neutral to come to the coast to the stop sign. I'm like, not a clutch.
Yeah.
So I catch myself doing that all the time in her car. So I think you would do that a couple times.
To be fair, I drive my daily is an automatic, and I don't ever do that. So maybe it won't be that big of a difference. But I mean, in a racing environment, I think I would be like, okay, let's go, and then there's nothing there. Yeah, I really do see myself doing that.
It's like it's the atmosphere. Like you're in your fire suit, you're in your helmet, you're in the normal environment that you're in, where you're used to shifting, and now it's just like, I don't have to.
And you know what else I would hate? I haven't been in your car, but I can't imagine it being much different. But like in Dad's car, I have a hard time seeing over. Like I just have a hard time seeing out.
I sit so low in my car.
I hate that because, in my car, I'm literally like 6 inches off the ground, so that's not an issue. But I can see over and out, where it's like your guys' cars, I could see probably halfway down the hood.
The only reason I can see like the handle on my hood that I used to pull the hood up, that's how I know how close I am to somebody, just because I base it off of that.
Right. Yeah. So that would be something I would have to overcome. I might have to get like a car seat or something.
Just lift the seat up a little bit. Yeah. I mean, that's a problem. I just sit so low. I could always figure something out to raise it up a little bit, but I think I've adjusted to it enough now that I'm like, I can see what I need to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Dad's got his transmission in the shop, hoping to get it back this week. And then hopefully all goes well with that. He should be ready to go for the most part. He got his decals today. He got his numbers and nameplates and stuff like that. Your car, I mean, outside of the improvements you're making to it, is race ready.
I could race it right now, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Still need to get the battery moved, which, I mean, isn't a super important thing, but it does shift weight. I'm also doing some research to try and figure out what else I can do to gain something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a couple other things in store. Gear change, which that's not a secret. Everybody does that. So I'm hoping I can get my hands on a second rear end. That way, I have the gears that I want to put in the current rear end, but if I can just find a whole new rear end and then put the gears in that one while it's out of the car and then swap the rear ends, it just makes the whole process a lot easier than trying to put the new gears in while the other rear end is in the car. Yeah, we could take it out, and it's just a lot of work. But my thought process behind that is also, if I want to go run a different track, say, I don't know if the 373 would be ideal for on dirt, and I want to go back to the 327 because I'm trying to, I don't know. But if I ever need to change it for a different track or whatever, boom, we're good to go.
So I was going to ask you what your goals and expectations would be for the season. I think you pretty much touched base on it earlier, where you said, I might not win a feature, which anything's possible, but you're hoping to win some heat races, things like that.
I don't want to go up to the board looking at lap time and being like, oh, I'm not the slowest. Like, I want to know I'm not the slowest. You know what I mean? I want to know, like, at least mid-pack.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, I'm figuring something out. It's not just, hey, I'm not last. It's like, okay, I'm here. The guy above me's here. How can I get there? Mm-hmm. And, yeah, I can still have that same outlook now.
Yeah.
Being where I'm at. But I also, I know there's a lot of guys that have been racing for years and years and years that are going to be in the Crown Vics this year, which there were last year. But I would really love to just try and get, a top 10 or a top 15 in points. Just be consistent, show up, and improve every time I'm out on the track. Mm-hmm. Whether that's figuring something out, I'm aware that my car's probably going to get tore up this year. It's probably going to be a couple races I don't finish due to stuff happening or whatever. But I'm hoping that anything that happens, it's all fixable and not anything that just takes me out for the season, because I can't afford to buy a new car or something like that. But yeah, my goal, I just really want to improve every race. The seat time issue, that's where I'm lacking a lot right now. So if the more laps I get under my belt, the more comfortable I get in the car, the more I know what limits I can push, know when to push, know when not to push. Just little things like that, or learning to race around other people, learning the competition, who I know I can race aggressively with and who I should stay the hell away from.
Right.
Just little things like that. It's all important information that I think will make me a better driver.
Yeah, I agree.
I wish I could say I'm just going to go home and work in the sim, but that doesn't work at Mount Lawn in a Crown Vic.
Allegedly, speaking of sims real quick, iRacing was supposed to scan Winchester, allegedly. And somebody at Winchester said, I don't think so, which, if that's true, f*** you.
But then they went to Anderson instead.
Allegedly, and scanned Anderson, so I'm hoping that comes out soon, because that'd be fun. But anyway, back to the conversation. You said if you want to race at other tracks, do you think you'll run at any other tracks this year? And if so, which ones are you looking at?
I don't know about this year. Mm-hmm. I really want to, but I think I really want to figure out Mount Lawn before I'm like, okay, I can go run wherever. Maybe Shady Bowl, because they're relatively similar. Mm-hmm. I think it's Shady Bowl.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Sorry.
I want to run Winchester, but before I will not go to another track and race until I have a containment seat. I refuse to do it.
Fair enough.
I probably shouldn't even be racing at Mount Lawn without a full containment seat. And I think I could get away with it because we're not really going fast enough, whatever, so on and so forth. But I would rather have it than not have it.
Yeah.
Just as a safety factor. I think my car's safe. I think that's fine. I'm not worried about that. But if I were to go run my current car at Winchester, there's no way. I'm not doing it. I'm getting a full containment seat. That way, I'm anchored in the seat. I'm not, because I don't have, like, I have a neck brace, but, like, I don't have anything on the side of my seat to keep my head from going back and forth. So trying to hold my head in place at a place like Winchester is just going to tire me the heck out.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So if I have something like a headrest to kind of, like, help keep my head supported on a track that's pulling, yes, I'm in a Crown Vic. I'm not going super late model speeds, but there's still G's there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I would say, that's a track that I want to race on before I see my end in life. Yeah. But I agree. I would want the containment seat, and I would go a step further and say I would want a Hans device just in case. I hate the neck collars. I've heard drivers saying I hate the Hans because you can barely move your head. I'm like, that's a good thing. Yeah. The neck collar I barely trust with my life. So
the problem, like the neck collar, I caught myself doing this during our